Hey everybody, some Gadget Guy here, and I've been playing with a few more Android Wear smartwatches. This one, the LG G Watch, comes courtesy of my pals at AT&T. They've really been getting into wearables, especially as accessories they can sell as you're going in to renew your contracts. So I definitely want to give them a huge shout out for hooking me up with one of their display units so we can talk a few more Android Wear smartwatches. This is the box for it, so of course we don't do unboxings, because we want to talk about the watch. The G Watch's design is ultra simple, which makes sense as it's one of the least expensive watches you can pick up in the Android Wear ecosystem. Jumping into some quick size comparisons, here is the G Watch next to my Martian Passport. Quick turn to the side there so you can see a sort of relative thickness between the two. Here's the G Watch next to my Asus Zen watch, which I just recently reviewed. And same thing, we can turn to the side. Here's the G Watch next to my Samsung Gear 2. The G Watch next to a Pebble Steel. Here's a G Watch next to one of my favorites, the Qualcomm Talk. And lastly, the G Watch next to a Moto 360. Yeah, folks, walking around the hardware, it doesn't get simpler than this. It's a rectangle with a touchscreen. You can see the touchscreen there. And that's about it. Thankfully, the construction on this feels a lot sturdier than I thought it was going to when I saw the initial sort of specs for this smartwatch. You get a nice, flexible, rubbery watch strap. I mean, it feels fine. It's a little on the sporty side. On the back, you've got a little pin button right there that you can use to reset the device. You've got these pogo pins to charge using the available cradle. And the nice thing about the included charge cradles, it's got little magnets built into the base so that when you get your watch lined up, it snaps in really securely. And I like that better than using hard plastic clips like what Samsung is doing on the Gear line. It's just faster to set your watch down on a cradle like this, and then the magnets make sure that it stays securely locked in place so those pogo pins will actually charge up your watch. For a somewhat chunky rectangular watch, LG's done one thing that does actually help a lot with how this watch wears on the wrist, and that's angling these little arms that connect to the watch band. You guys have heard me harp on about this with other watches like my Martian Passport. A watch should never fit like it's a lump on your wrist. It's a very subtle gesture on the G Watch, but it does actually help, especially for those of us who like to wear our watches on the inside of our wrist. So while we have this rectangular lump on our arm, at least the arms that connect to the watch band taper a little bit more gracefully off the sides of our wrist. And if you saw my review on the Asus Zen watch, there really isn't much different. Android Wear, the general experience for Android Wear is very consistent. Google's really trying to lock down their wearable market in a way that they were never really able to on their smartphone market. A tap on the screen will wake it up, and then gestures move you through the rest of the UI. Swiping down from the top gives you more settings and controls. If we want to get into sunlight mode, theater mode, individual settings. I recently used this watch as a demo for unlocking developer options. And then if we go back, all of our notifications are swipe up from the bottom. So we can get into our email. There's some more emails, missed calls, how late I am for work, Kyle Moonley's birthday. I have taken 0 steps with this watch today. I should probably get my exercise routine in order, what the weather is, stocks, etc., etc., etc. And then when we're done with a certain notification card, we swipe it to the side to get rid of it. One of the things I still find a little troubling about Android Wear is how notifications completely disappear. If you dismiss something from your wrist, it's gone from your phone, and then there's no archive. You know, there's no way to get back into old notifications. Like that's one of my favorite features on some of the other watches like the Gear S and the Qualcomm Talk is from my wrist, I can go through a backlog of notifications without having to pull up my phone and then remember what apps had notifications. And where we have to go to get into individual applets can be a little cumbersome too. So I'm going to tap on the screen and then scroll through menus. There we go there. And now we get these little clues, you know, how you can send a text. All of this is accessible from an OK Google, but here, let's get through set a timer, start stopwatch, show alarms, play music, individual settings. The settings takes us back to the settings from the top swipe. And then we have this start at the bottom of this list, which gets us into more applets. Like if we want to use Duolingo, if we want to fire up a compass, Fit, we want to use play music, and then our world clock. And so it's just a lot of tapping and swiping to get to this when I wish that there was some other gesture that we could have, like maybe a left side screen swipe or having an applet panel accessible from a top swipe. Again, it just sort of flies in the face of how organic Google is trying to make the Android Wear experience. One of the other things that I wasn't able to test on this watch is whether or not the most recent software updates have solved the problem of these pins corroding. On the very first batch of LG G watches, on the very earliest builds of Android Wear, people were complaining that by wearing their watches, these contacts were getting bridged, and then the salt and sweat that sort of accumulates under a watch was starting to corrode these pinouts. And LG says that they fixed the problem. I don't know if it was ever really determined that it was a hardware problem or a software problem. So if any of my viewers out there have been using an LG G watch for a while, I would definitely appreciate it if you could shoot me a comment to let me know if you see any corrosion on those pins. And I mean, folks, let's be honest, battery life on this style of watch is actually still pretty terrible, even with the screen dimming, which on this watch dims obnoxiously fast using the stock settings on the watch. I can only really expect about a full day's worth of battery life, not even a full day and night, depending on how many notifications are coming in and whether or not I'm really using the OK Google voice searching capabilities of this watch. And I really do think it's time for some Android Wear manufacturer to take a look at some other screen technology instead of LCD or AMOLED, just to see if we can't find other ways to prolong battery life. Which brings me to my last point on the G Watch, something that I don't completely understand about Google's strategy, especially as they're trying to sell more devices directly to consumers. The G Watch on the Google Play Store is still priced at around $220, $225, although if you shop this thing on Amazon, you can find it for around $125. And around that $125 price point, this thing makes a lot more sense. This isn't quite an impulse buy, but for those folks who are looking at just dipping a toe into the smartwatch market, this option is definitely one of the more cost-effective. So folks, I'll leave some links down below this video where you can get more information on LG's smartwatches, where you can shop these puppies online. And I definitely want to send a shout out to AT&T for hooking me up with one of their display units just so I could cut this review. As always, folks, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe if you would like to see more videos and reviews like these, and I would not be able to continue producing these reviews if you folks weren't out there sharing them with your family, friends, and on social media. So hit that thumbs up button, and I will catch you all on the next review.